This is present to imperfect ice part 1. Now please understand, the concept of going from the present tense to the past tense is kind of tricky. So I have several clips to watch. This is just the first one. This is just the introduction. So if you don't totally master the concept right away, don't worry. There are several more clips that you can watch to help you understand this. Because again, it is kind of tricky. All right. So how do we go from the present tense to the past tense? Well, it's really cool. Everybody say, it's really cool. It's really cool. And you know what else is cool? Ice. Get it? It's cool. Ice is cool. All right. To go from the present tense to the past tense, or more specifically, to go from the present tense to the past imperfect, you have to remember ICE. Okay, ICE. ICE is an acronym. I-C-E. I stands for infinitive. C stands for chop and glue. And E stands for ending. Okay. Wow, that sounds tricky. Well, here's what I want you to remember. The very first step in going from present tense to the past imperfect is to go to the infinitive, okay? So I tell my students, you need to go to the infinitive and beyond. Everybody, to the infinitive and beyond. If that sounds vaguely familiar, remember Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story? He was always saying, to infinity and beyond. Everybody, to infinity and beyond. And he was really cool. Well, to go from present tense to past imperfect, you have to go to the infinitive and beyond. All right? Now, Mr. Holt, what the heck's the infinitive? An infinitive is a verb that ends in AR, ER, IR. Like AR, ER, it means to. Like cantar is to sing. Bailar is to dance. Comer is to eat. Anytime a verb ends in AR, ER, IR, it's an infinitive. So, going from the present tense to the past tense, the first thing, you look at the present tense verb and you go to the infinitive and beyond. All right. C stands for chop and glue. Once you go back to the infinitive, you're going to chop off the AR, ER, IR, and you're going to glue something on. Now, if it's an AR verb, you're going to chop off the AR and add aba. If it's an ER or an IR verb, like comer or vivir, you're going to chop off the ER or the IR and add ia. So again, to go from the present tense to the past imperfect, first you go to the infinitive. To the infinitive and beyond, you go back to the AR, ER, IR form. Then you chop off the AR and add aba, and you chop off the ER and or IR and add ia. And finally, what does E stand for? E stands for ending. Now, once you've added the aba or the ia, if you're talking to your friend, you add an S. If you're talking about we, you add an MOS, and if you're talking about they or you guys, you add an N, which makes sense, because in the present tense, anytime you're talking to your friend, there's an S. How are you, friend? ¿Cómo estás? You eat. Comes. You live. Vives. In the present tense, anytime you're talking about we, there's an M. We sing. Cantamos. We dance. Bailamos. We eat. Comemos. Anytime in the present tense it ends with an N, it's they or you guys. Comen. They eat. Bailan. They dance. All right? So, Mr. Holt, this is kind of confusing. You're talking about ice, you're talking about Buzz Lightyear saying to infinity and beyond, and you're talking about Abba Ia. How about you show us an example, big guy, to help us understand? Great. Here's an example. They play soccer. In the present tense is ellos juegan al fútbol. Everybody say juegan. Juegan. Now, how are we going to go from juegan, which is present tense, to jugaban, which is past imperfect? Well, think ice. Going from the present tense to the past tense is cool, and ice is cool. Infinitive. What infinitive, what AR, ER, IR verb does juegan come from? It comes from jugar. So you go to the infinitive and beyond. So you go back to jugar. But Mr. Holt, what happened to the UE? Well, when you go back to the infinitive, all the stem changers and the Y's and the G's and the O form, all that disappears. Now, C in ice stands for chop and glue. You're going to chop off the AR. Now remember, if it's an AR verb like jugar, you're going to add aba. And if it's an ER or IR verb, you're going to add ia. Finally, ice ends in E, which is endings. If you're talking to your friend, you're going to add an S. If you're talking about we, you're going to add an MOS. And if you're talking about they, you're going to add an N. Well, they play, you're talking about they, so it's jugaban. So, how do you go from present tense to past tense? Ice. Infinitive, chop and glue, and add the ending. Mr. Holt, that's still kind of hard. That's still kind of confusing. I know. So I'm going to upload here several more clips for you to understand how to go from the present tense to the imperfect past. Okay, cool.